This is episode 294, recorded October 30th, 2015. Packard Pokes At. Okay, let's talk. Go Halloween or go home.
What time is it? It's Packard Pokes At time. Hat? Check. Shirt? Check. Pants? Optional. Mug? Double check. Check us out at cafepress.com/PackardPokesAt where you can get all this great merchandise and more.
Do you like Packard Pokes At and want to hear it on demand and on the go? Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. Available on iOS, Android, Nook, and iPad.
This is Packard Pokes At, and I'm poking at your news. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another fine edition of Packard Pokes At. I am your immutable and unmutable host, Packard Sonic, and joining me tonight from the far west coast is Connie, Practical Magic 9.
I don't fear the Reaper. I fear the GOP.
I would too, actually. And joining me from the far south of me, down in Illinois land, is Dana, the Talking Primate.
Well, I'm back, and unlike Jesus, I didn't make empty promises I couldn't keep.
Yes.
There's a great meme. It says Jesus is supposedly rising up in the air, and it says BRB. Everybody's going, lol, right, like that's going to happen. But that's not our topic tonight. Our topic tonight is, this is our Okay, Let's Talk segment, and tonight's topic is go Halloween or go home.
Well, that'll take care of not having to come up with a name at the end of it, that's for sure.
Yeah. Halloween is tomorrow, actually. Tonight, the night of this recording is the 30th, the night before Halloween. And the interesting thing about Halloween is that the holiday was started many, many, many moons ago. To coin a pun. I can't speak tonight. I really can't speak tonight. It was it was created back.
Gremlin on your tongue there,
I got a gremlin on my tongue. I wish it was something else. It was. At the end of the 12th century, it became the holy days of obligation across Europe, and involved in such traditions as ringing church bells for the souls in purgatory and things like that. Halloween was also known as All Hallows Eve, so there was a lot of Christian influence in the holiday, as it were. November 1st is All Hallows Day, or All Saints Day. On Halloween, a lot of Christians would go out to grave sites, and they would pray for the dead, and place candles and flowers out there. So Christians out there who are saying that this is a Satan's day don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about, because they don't know the history of the season.
Yeah, it's their day.
That's right. It is their day. They're denying a day that's actually theirs. Anyway.
Go ahead, Dana.
Oh, I was just going to say they've declared war on their own holiday.
Yeah.
Masses.
Well, they don't have a holy person who was born on it, so...
Yeah.
I think I would maybe argue that they sanitized it. There's a lot... I mean, every culture has a kind of a Day of the Dead, or, where they worship, they acknowledge, relatives usually that have passed on, and light candles, There's all of this symbology about the dead, and whether or not they, the veil between life and death is at its thinnest on a certain night, and so we do things that people do things, and traditionally to help the dead to find their way back. Hopefully not to your house, or maybe to your, I don't know.
One of the interesting symbols of Halloween is the jack-o'-lantern. Everybody puts a jack-o'-lantern, they stick a candle in it. This is an old Irish tradition, actually. They did this in order to scare the evil spirits, because, everybody knows that evil spirits are scared of jack-o'-lanterns. There's a little science in there. No. It was actually supposed to represent the soul who had been denied entry into both heaven and hell. That's what the jack-o'-lantern actually stands for. But we're not going to just talk about the Halloween holiday, as it were. There's a lot of weird stuff that's going on that, people talk about demons and things like that, and Christians seem to think that during Halloween that the veil between the living and the dead is somehow ripped, and Satan can come out and infect your children if they're wearing a Halloween mask. Like a Spider-Man or something. Their kid's going to turn directly into Spider-Man or whatever. Some kind of weird-ass shit. Speaking of the demons there was a house that's over in Indiana. Yeah, the Indiana house. Over in Gary, Indiana. And the thing is, I've actually been to Gary, Indiana, so that's spooky. No.
The Jacksons are from Gary.
Are they? Okay.
Yes,
all right, that
are.
confirms that there is a hell. No. No, this particular hell house that's over in Indiana, apparently it's off limits to investigation, but they're welcoming movies, people to come in and make a movie out of this, because the people who live there claimed that their family was experiencing demons and things like this. And a story from Latoya Amos and her 3 children appeared at an Indianapolis Star website, the news website. They felt that there was a demon in the house. They called the police, a priest, and health professionals who were disturbed by this case. And apparently they had some typical possession incidents. And one of the stories that are going on in this situation is that they claim that this kid was walking up the wall backwards. And supposedly the health professional that the Department of Child Services came in who's supposedly witnessed this. And that's total crap. That's total crap. I was like, if someone had seen this, you're in a fucking hospital. This happened supposedly back in 2012. We had cameras, on cell phones in 2012. I'm just saying. Anyone else?
Why did nobody grab one, right?
Yeah, why didn't somebody grab one? Yeah.
I can understand if you're the parent or somebody, you're kind of shocked. But if you're somebody there to investigate, why did nobody records this, that the kid's parkouring off of the walls?
Right.
Sure, okay.
I've
seen some kids catch some air by running up the wall and flipping, haven't you? I've seen
yeah, there's videos of that. There's lots of videos of that. Someone bought this house is Zach Begans. He has a thing called Ghost Adventures. I suppose they're going to traipse people into the front door and have people jump out of them and shit,
What channel is that show on too? It's one of Ghost Adventures on what channel? It's like a sci-fi.
It's probably on Sci-Fi Channel. I'd willing to bet.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually bought the place, and that's why actual skeptical investigators can't go walk through this house now.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't want them to pollute.
Yeah, with reason and go, oh yeah, that's what it is. It's this.
Interfere with his investigation.
Yeah, no investigation by the authorities. That's how convenient.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I got a couple things to say about this.
Sure.
First of all, this story is from the Indy Star. Oh, I thought it was from Star Magazine. Also, they have a new theme song. You know how it goes, right? Scary Indiana, scary Indiana, scary Indiana. You said that with a person going up the wall.
Yeah.
Right. Well, 2 things on that. First of all, when I say, "Oh, my kids are just bouncing off the walls," I didn't mean literally. Oh, and finally on that, somewhere in a trailer for a low-budget Christian movie, Joe Beth Williams from Poltergeist is saying, "Hey, that's my bit." And the last thing I want to say about this particular story is that apparently, according to the article, the 2 boys that were in the house started choking, growling, and headbutting Grandma, or as I like to call it, Indianapolis cult spring training.
Apparently, apparently the new owners, which is Zach, he convinced the different former residents to return to the home for a new documentary, scare quote, like that's a real thing for this guy. And they began filming. The demonic activity surfaced as soon as they showed up. Sure it did. The mother claimed someone kicked her when no one was around. Yeah, she was probably pregnant. It's like, oh, I felt a kick. Oh. Or she could just fucking been making it up if she wasn't pregnant, you know. And they said there was other incidents. As what? It doesn't say. Just there were other incidents.
Yeah, you watch the video that they made in the interview, and you kind of get the feeling that these people they're very savvy, and they all like agreed on the same bullshit story, or they just really are just not sane in any capacity.
Yeah, exactly.
No. We should follow the money. They're speculating that LaToya, the mom, owes people, and this is the movie rights have already been bought by Reality Media, who have produced a lot of movies, and there's a movie in the works about this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then it goes on here. It says a few days later, the daughter began having violent outbursts. She's a teenager. Teenagers never have outbursts. Never. That never happens.
Probably told her to do her homework.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to do my homework. I'm not taking out the trash. You can go there. Like, oh my God, she's acting up. It must be a demon.
Well, always in my house.
And then apparently she threatened to hurt herself and others. Yeah, typical teenager behavior.
God, yeah.
Especially if you piss off a teenager, they're like, oh yeah, well fuck you, I'm gonna take the trash, I'm gonna shove it up your ass. I'm like, oh, well, I guess maybe someone's having their monthlies, just saying. That's what I always say is like, throw chocolate at her and run. Kidding, I'm sorry. That was
yeah, you better.
I'm sorry.
Why don't you just take it all the way? Just say, that's not paranormal activity. It's something else that starts with P.
We laugh because it's true.
Just saying.
Then they said the girl's family witnessed her speaking in tongues.
As opposed to the church speaking in tongues. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And they're saying this is exhibiting signs of demonic possession.
They couldn't understand it because it was in Latin.
It was probably teenager speak. Yeah, it's like, what? What are you saying? I've had teenagers. I was like, sometimes they say shit. It's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Mumble.
Mumble. I was like, teenagers mumble. That's not speaking in tongues. Even if they were doing so what? They're just probably fucking with you at that point.
It's
having a seizure.
Or having a seizure. There you go. They're probably having a little mini seizure. They claim they brought the girl to a Catholic priest who performed an exorcism. We'll be getting more into exorcism later in the show. And he recorded the ritual on video. He said now the girl's now back to her old self. Oh, yeah, after that never, every time someone happens to go to one of these exorcists, it's like, yeah, I don't want to go through this bullshit again.
Better now. Just put the camera away.
Just put the camera away and take it out from underneath my dress, if you would, please. Thanks.
Oh, God.
No demons in there.
No demons in there.
Hand her the camera and let her take a selfie, and the demons come right out. Oh, hi.
They hate the Flash.
It's the Flash, yeah.
And they also hate the two fingers at the top of the piano.
Yeah, we mentioned that at the staff meeting. It was like you get that yeah, they hate this. So.
Oh God. Yep. They play chopsticks.
Playing chopsticks.
Our heart and soul, the pain of every music teacher's existence.
Yeah. We were kind of mentioned there about the exorcisms. Over in Spain, the priests over there are being questioned over allegedly trying to exorcise demons out of an anorexic teenager. teenagers have problems, okay? If you've ever been a teenager, you know there's a lot of shit going on in your brain. You don't know what's going on. You can't figure shit out. You got things coming left and right at you. So what's the logical thing to do? Take him to a fucking exorcist. Bullshit. Over in Spain there, a priest was summoned to court to answer questions about more than a dozen exorcisms he had allegedly carried out on a teenage girl with anorexia. I'm wondering if some of those were behind closed doors, just between her and him. I'm just saying, I'm going to exorcise that demon right out of you. Oh, damn. The girl was from a northern city of Burgos. She told the police that she began having problems with her anorexia, and that apparently when she was 16, her parents saw the sign of possession of her by the devil. People, if a child has anorexia, that's not devil. You give them a hamburger, they're okay. I'm just saying. No. I apologize. I did that joke on the staff meeting too. I apologize. That's not a way to treat it, because you can it
was horrible then, and it's horrible now.
It's horrible now. And I freely admit that. I freely admit that was a bad joke. I apologize. I deeply apologize. The girl told authorities that she was forced to lie on the ground, and she was tied up with crosses placed above her head. And the images of saints were put on her body during the ritual, which lasted between 1 and 2 hours. I'm wondering if they, it's like...
The images of saints or the priest himself. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It tied her down. No, I'm sorry. How's that supposed to help anybody?
I don't know. You bind the body just in case the spirit decides to go blah, 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 blah. All kinds of crazy here.
Hadn't the Catholic Church pretty much done away with the office of exorcist?
Actually, that's making a big comeback recently.
But I'm saying they'd pretty much done away with it. And after the book and the movie The Exorcist came out, increasingly there's been more talk of it. And the evangelical community has taken to, maybe not Catholic exorcism, because Jack Chick and all of that, they don't trust the Catholic Church, but
they're well within their right not to.
Right.
But there's so much worse.
Oh, by the way, real quick here, I apologize. I don't want to interrupt. If somebody wants to call in and tell us, something they've seen, or we're doing like a little ghost story or whatever a little bit later, the number is 857-216-3200. Use PIN number 35368. Or go to uberconference.com/Packard Pokes At for your best connection. We had a comment from the chat room here. Torvian said, the rain in Spain falls mainly on the priests.
If only.
Make it rain.
Make it rain.
I hear they'd melt. What a world. What a
world.
Here the Catholic Church almost came out of the Dark Ages, and they pulled them back in.
Yeah.
And the exorcisms actually do so much more harm than they do good. And even if it's not a lot, the fact that people die in these things
absolutely
disgusting.
It is. And there was we did a story, was it last week or the week before, where there was a story where the church was doing an exorcism on one of these two kids. And it was like they were about 18, 19 years old, and one of them died.
Okay, not the... that wasn't the Catholic Church, though, but it was like an evangelical.
Yeah, it was evangelical.
Church.
It wasn't
yes.
a Catholic church. I'm just saying it was an exorcism in this instance. That's what they called it anyway. So.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why religious people associate exorcisms and demons and things with the holiday. That's theirs. They're shitting on, like Dana said, they're pretty much shitting on their own holiday. And speaking of...
Whoa. You're going to get off this topic?
What?
You're going to get off the Spain topic?
Yeah, just for a moment.
Oh.
Did you want to add something to it?
Yes, I want to add lots of things.
Okay, go ahead.
Yay.
Okay. First of all, so according to the article, the priest had done 13 exorcisms.
Yes.
Now, that seems like a very weird number to stop at.
Right.
I thought maybe he would have stopped at 10 because that sounds a little bit more godly.
Yeah.
13's a little...
Well, he had to get his willy wet just a couple more times. That exorcism was feeling real good last time.
The court was actually hired to investigate whether this practice crossed the line into abuse? I would say yes.
Absolutely.
After one, really.
Before one, it should have been.
Also, there's a new name for this practice. It's called, especially in this case, it's called anorexorcism.
Oh.
And I would venture to guess that the reason that they needed to go 13 times is because the demons probably didn't speak Spanish, actually. So,
I don't understand these demons. They're speaking in another language.
like Scottish.
It's Scottish.
And also, and finally, I think the real problem here was a miscommunication issue. The girls' folks actually called to have her exercise. Like in a gym, and apparently the phones are really shitty in Spain.
Oh,
so.
Apparently, yeah.
They're having
Gold's Gym, God's Gym.
AT&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's really sad is over in Spain that as of 2013, they have actually 15 priests authorized to carry out exorcisms. By then, the Archbishop of Madrid, Antonio Rivero. Oh, God, this guy's got like 5 last names here. What the fuck is this? Anyway, the Archbishop over there reported he's meeting the increasing demand for the practice. There's a demand for this. There's an actual demand for people supposedly freaking out because there's, supposed demons in people.
Mm-hmm.
Weren't we supposed to already have understood that the signs of what might be a demonic possession are things like seizures or other illnesses? Shouldn't we already have moved on from that?
I would think so.
I know.
Yeah, but no, that's not how that works in Spain.
Coming back here to the United States, in my own state, just pretty much goddamn down the road from me about an hour, I know this guy from when I was younger, and he made contact with me a few years ago. I had to unfriend him from Facebook, only because he's fucking batshit crazy. And we were having a little discussion. He was saying that illnesses and things like that, and, what we were talking about there a few moments ago, he said those things are caused by demons. I'm like, seizures and things like that, these are caused by demons? Yeah, those are all demon possessions. And like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And every time I try to quiz him on this, went to some stupid-ass Bible passage. I'm like, that's not a proof. That's not a proof. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way.
Well, blaming mental illness, sickness, porn addiction, if that was a thing, on demons.
It isn't.
It's such a
Thank
way.
you.
Yeah, it's not. But it's such a way to say it's not my fault. And it's a way of saying that I'm still sinning or I'm still having problems because of some external force that is either oppressing me or possessing me. And oh my gosh, I remember the days, when debating in church whether or not a Christian could be possessed. Because no, they can't, because they're infused with the Holy Spirit. And so, no, a Christian can't be possessed by a demon. They can only be oppressed by one. Just garbage. Just total garbage. It's garbage semantics. And like I said, and a way of not actually taking ownership of anything.
Right. I apologize. That bleeping sound was me.
Do it
Oh,
again.
you're a bleeping bleep.
I'm a bleeping bleep.
Anyway, sorry, Dana, go ahead.
I didn't have anything to add. I'm just waiting for the next
okay.
story.
Oh, okay.
My jokes are better in the next one.
Woohoo!
One of the things that Christians do is during this time of the year, they try to convince us heathens that their religion is right by opening these Halloween houses. And, those are usually Halloween houses are fun. You go in, you get a little scared, and that's fine because, fear is sometimes fun. I mean, not for me, but that's not how my brain operates. The thing is with Halloween, it's fun to be scared sometimes, but they make up these things called hell houses. Now, with hell houses, is they come up with this weird narrative like, oh, well, if you are in a sexual relationship that's not approved by our religion, 2 guys, 2 women, or whatever, and
unmarried.
or unmarried, or
And
if
a
you
dog.
yeah, or
Wait, sorry.
Dawkins will bite you for that one.
Man's best friend.
I never see. They don't do the bestiality ones in there. I don't think they can get the dog to sit still, or the goat or sheep or whatever.
Too far, Packard. Too far.
No, they're leaving the sheep. The sheep's alone. I'm just saying, because they recognize that as fellow people that they're following. Anyway,
All the sheep jokes.
oh,
No.
That's so beyond the pale that even the Christians won't touch it.
but with these hell houses, is they set up those scenarios, and then they show, this person went to hell, and this is the way the torment that they're going to get because of what they did, and it's so much garbage. There was this video that came out a couple years ago, I think. It was how they did the behind the scenes of a hell house, and they had a cop there, and he's literally shooting with live rounds into a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard while this guy is holding it in his fucking hand. He's like, this is how you do gun safety. Fuck, you don't do gun safety aiming at somebody even anywhere near you.
But it was blanks.
No, those weren't blanks. There's the video. In that video, he's
Was
actually
that the
fighting.
live round at that point?
Yeah, it was a live round. The
Okay.
guy's holding out a cardboard box in his hand. He might as well put a fucking apple on top of his head here, say, shoot this off my head.
Oh, it was Texas, I think.
Yeah, that was out. Yeah, it was
Yes,
down in
it was
Texas. And then they have the kids supposedly put blanks into the guns, and then they pretend to shoot themselves or shoot each other. Anybody who's taken any gun safety course will tell you that you never. I don't have enough nevers. I don't have enough time to say enough nevers on this show. Ever point a gun at somebody unless you intend to use it. And I don't care if you think that there's blanks in it. You always assume that gun is loaded with live ammunition. It doesn't matter if you checked it 5 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago, 10 seconds ago. You always assume that gun is loaded.
Yeah.
And they have these kids taking a live gun with blanks, and holding it up to their own heads and pulling the goddamn trigger.
It can also kill you.
Yes, it can. There was an actor a number of years ago. He was fooling around with a gun that was supposedly had a blank in it, and he's held it up to his temple and said, "Let's see if I get myself this time." I don't know the circumstances if he was holding it directly.
It was Brandon Lee.
Was that Brandon Lee? No, it was another.
Bruce Lee's son, and it was during the filming of the movie The Crow.
That's a different one I was speaking of. But that happened in that one too. There was an actor. He was on this TV show called Voyagers or whatever. They would travel through time.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Hey, there's a lot of gun accidents that happen, with supposedly blanks, And he held it right up to his head, and he said, "Let's see if I can get myself this time." It shot out enough pressure to kill him.
Yeah.
So
Dent the skull and injure the brain.
yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
So you never fuck around with a gun ever.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Do you have more to say about the
No,
the
go
Hell
ahead.
House?
No, go ahead. You if you want to. This is an open forum. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, could you imagine the meeting that they had at when they first came up with this idea, like in the deep within the recesses of the Texas Baptist churches? Would be like, so basically, we run out of ideas now to get teenagers to get interested in the good parts of our religion. So how about you say we just scare the fuck out of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We all agree hell's a real thing, right? Oh, okay. Let's run with that.
Oh gosh.
Also, I suppose the Hell House couldn't be any worse than doing what I normally do on Halloween, which is watching Attack of the Killer Tomatoes Part 2.
They made a cartoon of that.
Or Geely. I don't know. I was trying to figure out which is scarier.
Yeah.
Oh well, we don't want to. We don't want to totally scar the children.
Yeah. No, did you know there was actually a cartoon of that show?
I did know that.
Okay.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
That was actually
Fun.
more frightening.
Torvin from the chat room says the part of the Hell House on abortion, they had a girl on a gurney with blood sheet all over her crotch and said, "This is what happens if you take the morning after pill." The propaganda.
Really?
Yeah, that's the propaganda.
Yeah, that was in the documentary Hell House.
Yeah.
Yeah. The daughter that they were talking about, she was the daughter of that one guy whose wife left him. That poor sad sack that was just like, he had 2 disabled children, 5 in total, and his wife had left him with somebody they met online, and he does so much for this church. He's just like giving himself to the web, creating the website and doing all this stuff, and he's got all these kids and he's doing all this by himself. And there's a few of the stories that they had for this Hell House that echoed his story. It was just the most cruel and stupid thing I think I've ever seen. This man is just a shell of himself, and I felt so bad for him watching this show. And he's so grasping at straws that one of the teenagers that he's working with, because they're playing demons, leading, kind of pushing people through different stories through the Hell House, he confides in this kid, says, I think I need to go through this for myself now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you need mental health services, and you need a lot of other help in your house right now. Is what you need.
Yeah, maybe some Prozac.
Yeah.
And a therapist.
And I don't know if this was the very first church to do a Hell House, but it is in the documentary. I thought it was credited with being one of the places that helped originate these things, and it's just grotesque.
It is.
I mean, like all monsters, I went in preparation for this. I was like, okay, trying to look up people who claim that their stories are real, like Amityville, right?
Yeah.
And there's always reasonable explanations for these things. But the stories that are frightening, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not to get off of Hell House, but like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's a movie based on Ed Gein, which is based on a real person, and they kind of took that and extrapolated it. What gets me about Hell House is I'd rather go through a billion haunted houses where it's just fake and it's just stupid and it's monsters chasing me than to go through something like this, which is just trying to shock kids and families with what they consider to be, bad choices, real life situations, and then showing them, if you don't choose right here in this life, you're going to hell. You look at the kids in this documentary, and you see kids and parents, and they're just like, I'm so upset. You can see that these kids are really shocked. They have abortion, botches, and they've got suicides, and they've got rape, and I'm like, really? Because
beatings.
Last I checked, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Beatings, like they
beatings.
do, like domestic abuse and all that shit.
Yeah, and the last I checked, the Bible says, don't give your mind over to wild imaginations. This is the kind of stuff that I was taught when I was a Christian that you wouldn't want to sit there and do. You don't want to sit there and imagine this stuff. But that was before I ever went to a Pentecostal church. And they're all about this crap. They're all about scaring you straight kind of shit.
Scaring you right into their arms.
Awful.
Yeah.
And and they have the same scenarios they do over and over again, and I'm just waiting. I'm sorry. I'm not waiting. I don't want to hear this, but I'm waiting for the first kid to put that, police officer's gun with blanks in it up to his head and wind up in an emergency room somewhere. Because this is just...
Oh, sure, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Tarvin from the chat room said what killed Brandon Lee was a casing of the blank flew out of the gun and lodged in his spine.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Imagine if that casing, if it can lodge in your spine. Imagine it with these kids holding a gun up to their heads. And that's in the video. They're actually allowed to let these kids hold the gun up to their heads and then pull that trigger.
I think they always have a scene, too, where there is some kind of a suicide or some kind of a shooting incident. This whole Hell House became infamous because after Columbine, they had a school shooting scene. They try and feature these things. And, what's the scariest thing maybe is that they consider themselves to have the best interests of everybody at heart. because they're more worried about what happens or doesn't happen, in our case, after this life. And just, I don't know, they reap in the benefits of a population of a town that is probably pretty much all on board, with everything that they're doing.
Yeah, morons.
Yeah.
Contact us by email at ppappodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter as @Packard Pokes At. Like us on Facebook.com/Packard Pokes At. Call our Google Voice and leave a message at 662-709-PPAP or 662-709-7727, and we will respond to it on the show. Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time. Join us live at vonlive.tv/Packard Pokes At. During the show, you can share your thoughts with us by calling 857-216-3200 using PIN number 35368 or on uberconference.com/Packard Pokes At. For links to the stories, visit our show page at packardpokesat.wordpress.com. You can help support the show by purchasing merchandise from cafepress.com/Packard Pokes At or make a donation to the show at patreon.com/Packard Pokes At. If you can't afford any money, why not share the show with your friends and rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spreaker, and on YouTube. For everyone that shares and rates us, you kick ass.
There was one. Apparently, there's one of these scenes that are in there where we talked about the gays and lesbians in there. They said that a kid grabs me mere moments after entering the lesbian suicide room.
I want to go in that room.
Because we all know that if you're a lesbian, you automatically want to commit suicide.
Absolutely.
That's a thing, apparently.
Is that before or after you find another hot lesbian?
All right. I was like, I like other women. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to kill myself. What? They be hitting that shit. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Hey, Connie.
Yes.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Oh, I don't know. Satan?
Satan?
Satan? Oh, God. Oh, God.
Now, apparently the church leader seems to be pleased about all this shit. He says the hell house is effectively doing its job by scaring the Holy Lord into children. That's a good thing. Why is scaring people to your religion a good thing? I thought you're supposed to get people to come to your church by love and understanding, not scaring the shit out of them. It's a carrot and stick thing.
I'm very confused because
beginning of wisdom. Oh, sorry, Dana. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to say to Packard's point that goes against all scare logic, because the idea is they're trying to scare the Lord into someone when usually when you're afraid, it's usually something that's scared out of you.
Yeah, it's usually brown.
Bazinga.
There you go.
And the thing is, right at the end of these hell houses, they put them right into this last room. It's like, okay, well, all you people, you've seen all the bad stuff will happen to you if you don't believe in our brand of bullshit. And if you want to, you can join us right now. And anybody who doesn't want to, well, here's the door right over there. You can leave and be a sinner for the rest of your life. And you evil, evil bastard children. And the
countdown. Yeah.
And the ones that leave, they's like, those people are going to go to hell. They're going to burn forever because they don't believe in our brand of bullshit.
I don't think they put it like that.
No, they're not quite like that, but pretty close to it.
They say, pray for those people.
Pray for those people. That's what I'm saying. They said those assholes are going to burn in hell. Pray for them, which does nothing anyway, but that's a whole other story. That's a whole other show.
To the credit of the documentary, which I don't think that it was the church itself that made it, but at the end, too, towards the end, that cop / congregation member is talking with some young people, 18 to 20-year-olds outside of the hell house, and they have some really hard questions for him, and he tries to give them, the normal spiel, and they're like, yeah, well, we're going. One kid says, I need a cigarette. They leave. They do show that, and again, that might have more to do with who made the documentary, trying to be more of an objective voice, and I like that about the documentary too. Which I know we're harping on the whole Hell House thing, but the documentary is interesting because they try to take a very neutral stance on it and just interview different people and just say, make up your own mind, which is beautiful. So I would highly recommend watching the documentary. It's for view for free on the internet, but if you want to have some kind of inkling of what, and it's to me, it's just very upsetting. I'm going, this is worse than any Halloween house I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it makes you really uncomfortable. It's right up there with Jesus Camp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes.
Doc and Doc from the chat room said religion works like an insurance company that says, but what if something happens? Yeah, what if monkeys fly out of my ass?
Right. Like a good neighbor, Satan is there.
Hey, Satan accepts everybody. Jesus is real picky. He said, only the ones that I like are the ones that are going to come and sit with me and sniff my ass.
Satan actually takes the Discover card.
He has hot tubs.
He does. He has real hot tubs. Supposedly,
All the fun people are going to be down there.
Yeah, and besides, if all the smart people and the people who don't believe in Jesus are there, by now somebody's had to made an air conditioner. I'm just saying.
Probably the inventor of the air conditioner.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's probably dead, and he was probably smart enough to figure he was into science, so, 1 + 1 = atheist. So.
Exactly.
A lot of other paranormal stuff that's out there, supposed paranormal stuff, I should say. This was on a TV show called Fact or Faked, and this show is mostly bogus. I saw a few episodes of it. There was this one story that I had seen previously where it involves ghosts, supposed ghosts, ghost children, right? This is how the story goes, that some bus had supposedly crossed a railroad track, and they couldn't get off the bus in time, and a train came by and killed them. And now, supposedly, if you go to this one spot, I forget where it is, if you park your car and you put it in neutral and you just leave the engine running, then the car looks like it's rolling uphill towards a set of railroad tracks, and then it'll go safely over the top and around this bend. And they did do, on this Fact or Faked, they did this test, and they put talcum powder on the back, because this is always the claim that there are little ghost children pushing the back of the car, pushing on the back of the car over the railroad tracks. And they put talcum powder on there, which I'm glad they did. And then they put the car in neutral, and the car did roll over the railroad tracks, and it looks like you're going uphill. They did a survey, a road survey. They actually had, this is the actual science they actually did. They went out there with road survey equipment, GPS equipment, and shows, you know what? The whole thing is bullshit, because you're actually going downhill. It's an optical illusion. You're not rolling uphill, you're rolling downhill. That alone in itself is kind of cool, that the world is more complicated than these people want to make shit out to be. These are not ghosts. Ghosts are not a thing. I know that's not part of the notes, but
no argument here. I think we're all on board.
I think I just question whether the ghost children would push the bus so that it rolled over and off of the tracks. I'm like,
no, that doesn't sound. I mean, I've got kids, and they're vindictive little motherfuckers. And, they would be pushing me into the train, you fat bastard.
Exactly. Or egging the bus,
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
They'd stop it on the tracks. Watch these fuckers die.
The radio can only play the wheels on the bus go round and round.
Right.
The children on the bus go squish, squish, squish.
Now, that would be a horrible thing for your car. Talcum powder and eggs.
Yeah.
Ghost eggs, no less.
Yeah.
smelly, sulfury eggs.
Yeah. Connie, we're coming into the last few minutes of the show here. You said you had a little story that you wanted to tell.
All right. There's too much. Let me sum up. When I was in junior high, this was about a year after I became a born-again Christian, and I had been told that the Ouija board was bad, but I'd been given a Ouija board when I was like 10 years old. I was having a friend overnight, and I asked her if she would like to play the Ouija board. She's like, well, I don't know, because she was also a Christian. So I said, well, actually, my mom told me that it just has something to do with our brain waves or whatever. You know, the brain waves move the planchette. I had to teach her how you talk to it. We sat down and set the mood. We were sitting in my little closet. We had the lights off and the door closed, the windows closed, everything was, set. And we flipped the board towards her. We put our fingers on the planchette, and she said, well, what do I do? I said, ask it a question that would know. It's, you've never played with my board before, so ask it your name. Mm-hmm. She did that a few times. The planchette didn't move at all. So she said, it's broken. That's not
it's broken.
So we flipped it around, and I said, well, what is my friend's name? And the planchette starts moving, and it spells out, why do you bring an unbeliever to me? And I looked at her, and I laughed. I said, well, that's funny, and she said, I didn't do that. And my friend couldn't lie for the life of her. She was a very frank person, and so I said, what do you mean unbeliever? And it spells out, she's not one of us. And I said, well, why do you think I believe in you? And it said, well, you're talking to me, aren't you? I said, but it's spelling it, And again, to kind of sum this up, got into this argument with the Ouija board.
You got an argument with the Ouija board?
Yes. And
oh my God, that's awesome.
The planchette is moving faster. The planchette is moving faster and faster. And I cannot emphasize enough that, first of all, this is how I remember the incident. Mm-hmm. All right. Eventually, it was moving so fast that we weren't touching it. It was moving on its own and spelling out threats to my family. And
that's like that's like
yeah, it's like
that's like Twitter extreme.
Gonna kill it. Gonna die in a fire. And I said, I don't have to answer your question. And it's flying back and forth between the center point, which is the S, and yes, you have to tell me you believe in me, right? So finally I said, I believe in Jesus Christ. And the thing flew off the board out into my room. And there was a wind in my room. It blew things off my wall. But like I said, there were no doors or windows open. And my friend and I just sat there looking at each other like, oh my gosh, So
we call that having gas.
Here's my problem is that this is how I remember this incident. Mm-hmm. But when I became an atheist, it has been the thing that's dogged me. I actually made a video on my channel, and it's the only thing I've ever gotten any flack on. People called bullshit on me. And I said, look, I understand that you don't believe this, but I'm telling you that this is how I remember it. Can you help me understand this? I do have a history of, I only have one other example of changing a memory. It was my first, again, long story short, my first dog was actually run over by a truck. The way I remember it is that my mom and I crossed the street. The truck stopped. The man picked up my dog, said, there's a place where I can bury it. My next stop, handed me my dog's collar, drove off after putting the dog in his cab, and I'm standing there with my mom, and my grandmother on my mom's side pulls up, and we get in the car. And I was telling the story when I was a teenager, and my mom said, that's not how that happened, Connie. The dog got run over. The truck kept running, kept going down the road. We walked across the road. My mother rolled the dog into the ditch after giving me the collar. And to this day, the way I remember it was the way. And so that's the only way I can compromise this story about the Ouija board is that I must have dreamt it. I must have had a skip somehow in my brain. But it's really weird because it was very frightening. It was very frightening. The planchette was moving by itself, and like I said, it flew off the board. There was a wind in the room. I remember things flying off the walls. And it wasn't like late at night when we did this. You know, it was during the day. So the nearest I can understand about this, and I've tried to look it up, is that my brain rearranged something in my head.
Yeah, that's possible, because what you think you remember, you don't, because your brain fills in gaps with information that's not there, because it has to put A and B together, or A and C together, so it inserts its own B in there, so it's like B2 or whatever.
Yeah. So that's my spooky story. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, who is this person that you were with?
Her name was Jill Frankie.
She's still alive?
And I am friends with her. I am friends with her on Facebook. I specifically tried to find her on Facebook. On Facebook.
Spookbook.
Spacebook, which is a amalgamation of MySpace and Facebook.
Right, Spacebook.
About a little over a year ago, and I'm going to be totally honest, I'm very nervous about asking her about. I friended her specifically because of this story, and I have not had the guts to ask her about it. She is still a believer, too. She's a very deeply held belief Christian person. I'm afraid that she's going to remember the same thing.
You know what you should do? This is what you should do. If you want to just write down what you remember happened. And then say, do you remember that night? What do you recall? And do not give her any clues to what.
No coaching.
No coaching whatsoever. Right. If the stories don't match up, there's a problem. So.
Right.
Yeah, then that means either you're right or she's right.
Right.
And if hers makes more sense, it's probably her.
Right. Dawkins' dog from the channel said, it's curious how Ouija boards work when somebody is touching it and never when the lights are off or the people can't see the letters. So somebody I knew said that they got a hold of a Ouija board and they broke it apart and there was magnets in there. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it's possible. Now there's a thing where if people are touching this, the pointer that's on the Ouija board, there's a specific thing it's called. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Where
planchette?
The planchette. That's the pointer. I'm talking about the specific thing where you're actually moving it. You are moving it because you want the letter to go to that thing there. So you're actually in control of that. But going to your Ouija board story. Now, this is a story that was handed down to me by my brothers and sisters at this old house when I used to live in when I was very, very young. I was about 3-4 years old. I don't remember any of this shit. So did it really happen? Most likely not. Because my brothers and sisters are prone to exaggeration a lot. So... No.
Does it have to do with a Ouija board?
Yeah, actually it does have to do with the Ouija board. They claim that they were fucking around the Ouija board and all of a sudden they were seeing ghosts and shit like this and stuff was popping out of the closet and whatnot. I don't remember the whole story, but it's a total bullshit story. And one of my sisters, she still claims that the spirit thing was still following her around years later. Every time she moved, this thing would move with her, supposedly. So, you know.
Like a ghostly monkey on your back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was a little weird.
I don't really have any Ouija board stories.
It could be any weird story.
We had one. Just a couple things about the Ouija board. First of all, I'm still mired in is it Ouija or Ouija? I don't know.
That's a Luigi. No, sorry.
It's a Luigi board.
It's a Luigi board. You put a little pasta on it, and then you eat the spaghetti.
And if people could really talk to spirits via the Ouija board like this, well, we wouldn't need Dionne Warwick. I mean, come on. No, I have one like weird story from my existence. Remember, I was raised Jehovah's Witness. We were taught like did not believe any of that shit from jump. So I was
Right.
always very, believe it or not, witnesses actually make the best skeptics. Although they do believe the world's going to
And
gonna be
tomorrow?
an earthly paradise at some time in the future, and that you're going to live forever or be resurrected even if you're cremated in some other form. Well, anyway, I digress. That's a topic for another conversation.
Yes.
But no, the only really weird story that I ever had was when I was in the UK in 1991, and it was the year that my great grandmother, she actually passed away while I was there, and I got a phone call. I got called out of class because I had an emergency phone call that came in from the school, and my father, he called me specifically to tell me that grandmother had passed away. I'm like, I don't know, and I think my dad was such a drunken idiot that he didn't realize that I was 6 hours ahead of him. But so he called me late at night, which was actually in the morning, and I thought, oh, that's horrifying. I'm so sad, Dad. I don't know what to say. And then all of a sudden, and I know this actually happened because I know a voice cut into the phone that sounded just like my great grandmother and said, it's okay. And then I was like, Dad, did you hear that? And he goes, what? I go, somebody's voice just came in and said, it's okay, after you told me that grandma died. And it was, and then I thought about it. I'm like, did that person have an English accent?
It was the AT&T operator
It might
listening
have
in. CIA. It's like, oh, the kids. Oh, it'll be okay. Shit, did I say that out loud?
Empathetic.
Did I say that out loud? Fuck.
AT.
Did I say that out loud?
A very empathetic AT&T operator who was listening to the conversation. It was actually the NSA. Because,
Yes, to say.
So, and that's the way I remember it, and that's the way it happened. And it sounded like my but it could have been anybody, or we could have had a bad connection or whatever.
Yeah, it could have just been. Yeah, the earlier days, phone connections are always crossing wires, so it's possible you just crossed a wire and something else, or you.
But you know the weird thing about it?
What's that?
After that happened, I was like, how old was I then? I was 19. I actually felt better. I don't know why. I actually felt like, oh my God, I can't believe that this just happened. And I actually felt better that a woman's voice said, "Don't worry, honey, it's okay." I actually felt better. But I was younger then.
Yeah. Well, weird things happen, especially when you're dealing with technology and game boards, So
And grief.
And grief, yeah.
Well, but a lot of what these things are, our belief in ghosts, our belief in the other world, let's just push God out of the picture totally.
Yes, let's do that.
Yay! Just over the cliff.
Especially in government.
Yes, absolutely.
But belief or stories like this, they're comforting to us. When, especially at a time of loss, and what I often say is that I don't have proof of an afterlife, or that there's not an afterlife. Well, let's just forget about God altogether. But that's where it's like, well, yeah, I suppose it happened, but I don't have proof of it yet. I mean, one day I will. That answer that last great mystery. What we understand physically by science and all the sciences about the physical world, as we don't know any, there's no real proof. It's hard. It's hard to go through a loss. I know I still dream about my father occasionally, but I find it interesting that when I do dream about my father, my reaction is just like, "What are you doing? You're dead,"
Yeah,
in my dream. But it's my mind dealing with that. I don't ascribe it to a ghost,
Yeah.
But it's comforting.
Yeah.
It's still comforting. My dad in my dreams is usually, except for the last 2 times, is really happy. Last 2 times he's been kind of a dick. I'm like,
Connie, did you take the trash out yet?
Did you take the trash out, Connie? Go take the trash out. I'm not taking the trash out. I'm in bed. Anyway, we got to get going. Thank you, Connie, for your story, and Dana for your your awesome story
you,
as well.
Dave.
Both of your stories were awesome. I was kind of hoping we'd get some more people in here to share their stories with us, but apparently that didn't happen, unfortunately. That's okay. We'll be back next week with our short show, and it'll be the first week of the month or whatever. I don't know. It'll be in there somewhere, but it'll be our regular short show. So we'll see you next week. This has been Packard Pokes At. We just poked at your news.
And that's a wrap.